Great.
And I just want to test my share screen with you whenever it's a good time for you.
Yeah, let's do it now.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I don't have the wrong end showing.
Oof, I had a problem this morning, which was a shame because I'm supposed to be sharing videos before and in the middle, so not a great thing to lag on. It's
right.
Unpredictable.
And then let me go to my view. That's right. Okay. Do you see the presenter side or the?
I just see the slide. The only thing I have on here, and I don't think you can get rid of it, are the little arrow buttons and everything on the bottom left hand.
Yeah.
But that's not distracting. It's always there. It looks good. Nothing else. It's just the slide.
Sweet. All right. I'm good then. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Problem.
Oh, that's right. It's over here. Stop. There we go.
All right. And your audio sounds good as well.
Okay. Now, if the internet will just behave. I'm in a building with 4 stories. There's 3 residential layers above the bottom layer of businesses. And it's thankfully this is early enough before school lets out, because when people get home like around 3 or 4, the network, you can tell like the bandwidth, it gets bogged down, and it's so frustrating.
All of the kids get on their devices.
Yeah. And I've complained to the property manager. It's like, there's not really much we can do. Try to get a booster signal, I guess. Signal booster.
You know, I would pay for one in my home, but I honestly don't know what I'm talking about, so I don't even know what to ask for.
Yeah, that's about the extent of my knowledge, is what I just said. Like,
yeah.
Has anyone ever told you that you are like an Anne Hathaway doppelganger?
Yes. Yes, I have heard that.
Gotta be the complexion and facial structure.
I think some people, but like some people will absolutely not see that, and other people are like, how do you not? So there's definitely a subset of people that have said that. Yes. Cheryl, we were just talking about how Tammy had asked if there was if I had ever been told that I am an Anne Hathaway doppelganger. I was like, yep, I have gotten that. I don't know why, but that one in particular.
I think it's the mannerisms also that help put it over the edge, like, because you kind of hold yourself the same way and speak the same way. Well, you know.
I'm very flattered, so thank you.
She should be flattered.
Yeah.
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 Somebody call up Anne.
Yeah, tell her, hey, yeah.
You should be flattered. You're a Megan doppelganger.
There you go.
You look a lot like this very talented woman.
I'm definitely not. I don't have any similar talents. That's safe to say.
Yeah. I'm strictly only good at the science stuff. Anything else, like, I can't wait to get to the point where I can hire a PR person, so I don't even have to do stuff like this anymore.
Everybody's been doing really well with the, I think pitching is in itself, like that's, it's a demanding thing, and you guys do fabulously at it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself.
Sure, and we're just getting some more people joining on here. It looks like we have mostly some of our pitchers, and then Doug, we've got you on. You're one of our judges, which is great. So we have, one of each at least. So let's see. And actually, for everybody on, sorry, go ahead, Tatiana.
Oh no, just wanted to check how you guys have been doing so far. How it's
Things have been good. I think we were saying earlier that every session there's something different that we just kind of need to adjust to, and I think that's always going to be the case. But overall, even those things, I think for the viewers seems very seamless, so they're having a good experience. The conversations have been great. People have been engaging actually after their sessions as well. So we'll invite them to say, hey, you're interested in speaking to any of these women more about what they're doing, please feel free to connect. And that's been happening. So all of that's been great. Cheryl, how do you think things have been going?
It's been wonderful. The speakers have been great. The judges have been wonderful. They've asked great questions. Been relaxed, actually. And it's really gone fine. And this one I'm looking forward to. We'll do the same, I know.
Congratulations. Well, you guys are so well organized. I can definitely applaud.
Well, no, you guys are the stars of the show. Definitely.
I was gonna say, you guys are the ones that have to pitch. We just have to sit back and let you guys be magical.
Quick question. Do you prefer our cameras off so the focus is on the speaker?
Yeah, let's talk about that real quickly. So actually, first thing with your names here in the attendees, you can see everybody that's on there. That list gets kind of long with all of the judges as well as the speakers. So it can help, especially with our moderator. Emily should be joining us here shortly to figure out who's a judge and who's a speaker, especially when we're doing the Q&A sessions. If you change your name to say your company and your name, or judge and then your name, so that you can kind of tell who's who in that panel. So that will help a little bit. And then the second piece with video and audio, we'll keep this open, just kind of have conversations. We like to just double, triple check everybody's comfortable and ready to go by 1:30. But 5 minutes to 1:30, and I'll remind everybody, turn your video off and you can mute yourself. Zoom tries to be helpful by, you know, if there's a noise, highlighting that screen, but when you're have this many people, it can get just a little, you end up getting this crazy visual tour of literally everybody on the panel, which we don't want. So when it comes time to speak, the moderator, Emily, will say, you know, next we have Tammy and all of that. So you'll know, it'll be very clear that you're up to bat. And at that point, you can turn on your video and share your screen. Otherwise, you can leave it off. Everybody on the judging panel, as well as yourself during the Q&A session, because that's more conversational, can have their cameras on so that you can all kind of see each other and have that conversation though. Does that sound good? Any questions about that?
Tatiana, you might want to adjust your camera angle a little bit. There we go. Okay, better.
I was just hiding. Thanks, Cheryl.
So I guess when it's our turn, we do not switch on our camera. We just jump into the pitch, right? Is that
so it's quick, right? So it's 7 minutes. So you can turn on your camera, but you're going to be sharing your screen, so your slides. So they're going to see those big slides up on the screen. Sometimes it's nice to have that video on the side, which has your face, so they're seeing you as well. That tends to look the cleanest. It makes it a little bit more impactful. So having both your screen share and your camera on for that little side view. And then you can leave it on throughout the Q&A. Again, the moderator, so she'll let you know that it's your turn and go ahead and share your screen and get started. So she'll give you a pretty solid cue.
And she will cut you off at 7 minutes, and then she will tell the judges they have 8 minutes, and she'll cut them at 8 minutes. So it's been working very well, and we've had different moderators each time, and yet it all works very seamlessly.
awesome?
Okay, we're still waiting for Kathy Skinner.
We're logged in and kind of all set. Should we just go ahead and turn our cameras and mics off until 1:30?
You absolutely can.
Yeah, talk to us though, it's good. You can turn it off too.
We're talkative. We'll kind of chit chat over the next period of time here. We typically don't have a problem filling up the time, but absolutely you can. If everything feels good to you and you're comfortable, feel free.
Okay.
For our names, you said name and company, or company and name? Like, I feel like Mara had got it right.
Oh, so actually Mara's got a good example up right now. So it's company and then your name. And then judges, it'll say judge and then their name.
Okay.
Keep mine pretty vague because I'll just be kind of sitting in the background here. But it helps the moderator just make sure that she's getting all of that information when she's looking at that list.
Yes, I will.
Welcome, Deborah. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm a few minutes early, but I had a panic attack because, this morning I had another business meeting and I could not get Zoom to open. So I thought, I gotta get in there early and be sure I've got it right.
Great, we're happy to have you early.
I'm gonna put you on mute. and do a couple of things, but I'll be back. I'm not going to sign off now that I know that I'm in.
All right, and Cheryl, Kathy, right? You want to pull in? Who did you say?
Kathy Skinner,
Okay,
Extant Court.
perfect. Let me just send her a quick email with a direct link just in case. Let me ping Emily as well. If I bang on the wall behind me really, really hard, sometimes she hears me, but we won't do that.
Oh, there's Emily.
Hello.
Emily? Thank you.
Hi, Cheryl. Thank you for having me.
And Emily, you should be able to start to see, if you open the panelists in the attendees pane, you can see everybody that's on.
Okay. I can see everybody here. Fiona.
Hey, Fiona, thank you for joining us.
And then Emily, any questions about the session?
Just to confirm, Megan, I'm seeing the things that are number 4 on the runner show that you sent. Is that right?
You can really add whatever your own Emily spin is to it. It was just more meant as like a helpful guide to help people kind of get what was going on at that time.
You don't have to stick to that script at all, Emily. You
Not
have
at all,
to
but
and all that kind of stuff, but
right. But that number 4 section, absolutely. So we'll go through, I'll start a video right at time. And then that will go to Aisha and she'll go into some opening statements, things like that, and then introduce yourself. And then you can go into saying like, hey, thanks, you know, and start introducing all the companies and the folks, and you have that list there as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, I think that list is good. I was just double checking to see if it changes. And then the only other thing is we'll have that 3-minute break as opposed to a 1-minute break after the third pitch. And that will get kind of pitched back to Aisha, who will make some comments, and then I'll play the TMC video. The old one, I'll give you a heads up right now, just so you know.
Thank you. Sounds good.
We're going to have something that is more appropriate at the finals when we're actually doing all of that in your house. We talked about it a little bit earlier, and I had a conversation with Tatiana the other day, just about possibilities. And so I think we need to have a powwow, maybe with a glass of wine, and
Perfect.
and get creative.
Yes, for sure.
Are we using the Whova app for comments or voting, judging?
So let me share, I'll share a link with you here real briefly. So you'll use a SurveyMonkey link that will go to to a judging scorecard. So you'll be able to put your feedback in there. Aisha made the comment earlier that sometimes the comments, not even just the scoring, but the comments are really well appreciated by the companies as well.
Absolutely. So we really appreciate you guys taking time to give that feedback.
Okay.
Fiona, where is your helper?
At home.
How old is she now?
She'll be, in a week, she'll be 10 months.
Wow, okay.
So
Need at least a picture, Fiona. We haven't.
Yes.
I should. I'm sorry. It's been so bad.
You have a few things going on. Oh, look at her. I can see her big eyes.
I'll send some along.
Awesome.
Megan, I'm just going to run through everyone's name. So if you can correct me before we get started.
Yeah, we should have all of our speakers on. So if you guys want to come back on camera maybe and go through with Emily, let her know that she's pronouncing the name of your company, your name and everything right, then that would be fabulous. Then we don't have to rely on me.
So, hey, Tammy, great to see you. Tammy
Hi.
Dorsey, Prenatal Hope. Everything
Yep.
sounds fine.
That's it.
Awesome. Hey, Vina, great to see you too. So Vina Samaretti, Neuro Rehab VR, fine, fabulous. And then, hi, Tatiana.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good.
It's Tatiana Conzavelli.
Yeah, you did it. Perfect.
Okay, Open Health Network, fabulous, thank you. And then Kathy Skinner, NX Genport.
And muted. Kathy I have been emailing with her. She'll be on here in a little bit.
Okay, fabulous. Thanks, everyone. And for the participants, I'll do a 30-second warning in the chat. If you'd like a visual signal as well, I'll do that at the same time too.
Something sounds like a launch, or maybe it's just me.
No, it's not just you. Something sounds a little, there's some feedback somewhere.
Uh-oh, is it me? Let me
Sure.
mute and see if it's me.
Oh, yeah.
Is.
My housekeeper's vacuuming. I'll go fix that. I'll be right back.
Thanks, Deb.
You're pretty close, Aisha. It was a vacuum cleaner that was taking off. Good guess.
Not quite as scientific as the space launch or rocket launch, right? But okay. Hey, Doug, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
Doing great. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. All good in Houston?
All good in Houston. We hope you'll come and join us in January for the live final events.
I'd love to.
Always great to have you with us, and more to come on all of that. We were going to do this in November, but you know, But the way things have transpired, we just felt like it was safer to
Yep.
wait a little bit. Whoops, Emily's even got her mask on to moderate. No. But it's hard to know how to navigate through some of this, so we felt like we were safer to postpone.
I think that is a brilliant move. It's very uncertain right now, so.
Megan, I got a note from Susan Quirk. She's having trouble getting in. Can you lend her a hand?
Absolutely, I can.
Okay.
Am I in the right place?
Hello, Kenyanda.
Hey there.
You got in.
I saw Aisha, so I figured I must be in the right place. Okay. So.
Or you can meet a bunch of new friends.
Okay, but I'm going to change my name, right?
Yes,
Change-
Judge. Hello, Susan. Good to see everybody making their way in. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, how are ya?
Good. How are you, Deb?
Very well, thank you. How'd the morning sessions go?
This is session number 4, so we're halfway through, and they've actually been great.
Terrific.
Yeah,
I wish I could participate more, but I really enjoyed yesterday. I'm looking forward to today.
Yeah, no, we appreciate people just spending as much time as they have available. The conversations, the presentations were really good, promising startups, and then the interactions with the judges are really fantastic.
Excellent.
Great.
And Carol joined us. Welcome.
Hello. Hey, Melissa.
How are you? I'm sorry I'm late. I was having a few technical difficulties figuring out the app.
Yeah, that's why we get a little earlier start to make sure we've got everyone on board.
That's great. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good, good.
Hey there, Aisha.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well. Are you in Colorado?
Absolutely.
What's the temperature?
Colder than I'd like. I don't know, 50 something maybe. It was cold yesterday.
You're welcome to come to Houston. We promise you warmer weather.
Yeah, you should definitely come to Houston soon, Nick.
Be there November 15, 16.
Put January 20th on your calendar, 19th and 20th for our finals. We're going to have an event the night before, and I believe it'll all be locked in at the Ion at the Rice's newest innovation facility. And then our pitch event is always at TMC. So that's a great fun event, and then we'll do some things in the day.
I'm coming.
Good.
And judges, you should be getting a link from me in the chat, which is directly a link to the judging tool. If I missed you, please feel free to ping me and I will make sure I send it your way.
Is it different? I had already opened it from the link that you had sent before. So I need to close it and go to different, or is this?
You're good.
The one that yep, you're good.
I have a question for the additional
Can
comments.
you say that again? Are you emailing that to us, or where do I get it?
So it's in the Zoom chat box here. You'll see that I sent you a direct link. It's a SurveyMonkey link.
In the chat box?
So if you go all the way to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little button.
Oh,
says
that
chat.
one. Okay, I was off to the right.
You
Yep.
get that?
Okay. Good.
Sorry, Sammy.
No, I just wanted to know if the comments are directly shared with the founders, or is this something that is for the internal Ignite team?
The internal Ignite team goes ahead and we review those comments and we will maybe edit them, but we do share the gist of the comments, maybe not the direct comments. It's not in the score, but we think the comments are helpful to them. But please be really honest, and if you want to say something that, you don't want to share, just say that in the box, because I will edit those and I will send them out.
All comments will get pushed through the Cheryl filter.
Oh.
A quick question. What's the presentation order of the companies? Like who's going first is really my question.
So the very first one, actually, Emily, should I?
It's Mara McFadden from Endolumic.
Endolumic. Okay, yeah. The reason I asked, I know that one. I'm not an investor, but I know that one really well. I might want to abstain from that one.
And that's fine. We've had people do that in the other sessions when they've just been too familiar, or maybe are familiar with something that's just too directly competitive, or for whatever reason. Everybody on the call, we defer to everybody's best judgment for that, and that's absolutely fine.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
You're still welcome to add comments for the company if you want.
Yep. Will do.
Megan, is this Survey Monkey supposed to be a link? Because it doesn't link me anywhere.
It's not linking you anywhere.
Close that and I will.
I mean, I see the address, but
I just copied that into my browser and it took me right to it.
okay.
Copy and paste. Maybe that's the easiest way. Let me know if that copy and paste doesn't work, and I'm happy to be more creative with some solutions.
You can email it directly too.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're just missing 3 judges right now, Megan.
Who are we missing, Cheryl?
We're missing Ian He, Karen Hill, and Elizabeth McGee.
Okay, and unless we are just a few minutes prior to our start time of 1:30, so if everybody wants to go ahead and you can go cameras off and mute yourselves. For judges, for the Q&A sessions, please come back on. So it feels like a discussion. We can all see everybody's faces. And then for our speakers, Emily will kind of run the show and she'll let you know when it's time to pop on yourselves. Otherwise, we should be all set, and we'll talk in a few minutes.
Is there any speaker intro at the beginning?
So we're gonna start with a video, and then I will give comments, turn it over to Emily, our moderator, and she'll go through each speaker and introduce them right before they get going, so you can kind of know who's up next.
Okay, thanks.
Of course, my pleasure.
I have Elizabeth McGee. I have Karen Hill. Who was the third judge missing, Cheryl?
Yin He, Amazon.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Hey, Megan, do you want,
Yes, ma'am.
can you take Karen Hill out of the attendees and make her a panelist?
Yes, ma'am, right now.
Hi, Karen. Great to see you.
Hey, hi.
We are just gearing up to start. There'll be some introductions, and then I'll introduce our first company, which is Mara McFadden from Endolumic.
We want our voices heard at the podium, in the boardroom, and at the investors' table. We want our voices to be proficient, inspiring, and confident. We want our voices leading innovation, patient care, and opening doors for others.
The Ignite Healthcare Network is a nonprofit organization dedicated to enhancing the influence, proficiency, and entrepreneurial talent of women leaders in healthcare.
Women are, as we all know, vastly underrepresented in the founder community among startups, also in the investment community, and also in the healthcare community. So every part of the chain, there is a challenge.
Ignite is attracting women healthcare executives or women in healthcare that are from such a diverse background that by connecting us all together, it in of itself creates innovation.
Really creating innovative solutions, not just in technology, but in sciences and other programs.
Formed in 2017, Ignite's programs, networking and mentoring events, and accelerator competitions promote the advancement of women leaders transforming healthcare.
Sort of Ignite to me is creating this diverse portfolio of women and possibilities.
It's almost daunting, the talent and the accomplishments, the skills that are in that room. But once you start talking, that's not what you hear. It's the support, it's the camaraderie.
Ignite allows me the opportunity to stretch. It allows me the opportunity to get exposed to areas where my own area of expertise, may not be enough. I am learning.
The knowledge members gain and connections they make ignite ambitions, fuel leadership, and spark answers to critical decisions shaping the industry.
You can expect to be surrounded by enormously accomplished women who are there to support you and to collaborate with you.
To really make a difference in healthcare, technology, or STEM programs.
There's no limit to what bringing diverse talent together can create.
For us, the sky's the limit.
Welcome, everyone. This is Ignite's 5th annual pitch competition. I am going to try to share my screen with you. We'll see if it's going to allow me this go around, and it looks like I may run into an issue, and I am. So if you don't mind just hearing me for just a few moments, Ignite's 5th annual pitch competition. Thank you all for participating as judges and as listening audience. We're delighted you're here. We have got an incredible lineup of entrepreneurs who are who you will hear from. You're going to hear from 5 companies today. We have already been through 16. So this is our 4th pitch session today, and it's been incredible. As I said, we have 32 companies who made it through our selection process. It's been an incredible journey for us over the 5-year period, in that the first pitch competition we held, there were 18 or 19 applicants. I honestly can't remember. This year we had 130 applicants actually completing the application process. There were some 263 companies led by women who engaged in the process. Some were simply too early. We interacted with them and have them hopefully some of the promising ones on hold, waiting till we have an opportunity to bring them in when their companies are ready for an event of this sort. But the companies that did complete were reviewed through our own organization leaders and then through a selection committee of physicians, VCs, and industry experts. And some of you are on this call today. We appreciate the 120 hours of volunteer time that took to identify the 32 companies that are participating. We sure hope that you find them to be both impressive and inspiring as you hear them. You will have opportunities to also hear the rest of these companies because we're recording all of the pitch sessions, and they'll be available through Whova. One of the things that I don't have the slide, but you will see it. I'll bring it back up at the end of this session. We are grateful to the wonderful organizations who spent time with the 32 companies mentoring them. We had a group of world-class VCs and organizations, providers, insurance companies that spent time with these 32 companies preparing them for today. So we're thrilled for the opportunity to work with this incredible group of companies. You'll see their logos a little bit later on. And the same thing with our sponsors. Each year, we are fortunate to be surrounded by an incredible group of sponsors. You'll see their names throughout the afternoon, and I will touch on them at the end of this session. One of the things that I want to make sure everybody knows how the voting works. So people get to the finals, or our companies get to the finals, pitching companies, by winning their panel. So judges, your votes are going to select the winners from today's panel. So be sure to complete your votes, the scoring tool, and be sure to also submit it once you're done. If you'll do that at the end of this session, we would truly appreciate that. One of the other things that's available to find companies that you believe have incredible opportunity and promise is to vote through the People's Choice Awards. So even the judges have an opportunity to listen to the recordings of the pitches and vote for companies that you may not have heard pitch in your panel, but you were impressed by listening to the recorded pitches. So with that, the vote for the People's Choice Award is over on at 11:59 Central Time, Houston time, 11:59 p.m. on Friday, the 15th. So we hope that you'll take a look at the other pitches as well and cast your vote. With that, I'm going to turn things over to our session's moderator, Emily Reiser. Many of you know Emily in her role as Senior Manager of Community Engagement at the TMC's Innovation Organization. And we're delighted to have Emily. Emily has been a big part of our efforts for the last many months, and she knows this world well, and many of you know her well. So Emily, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Aisha. It's always a pleasure to collaborate with you on all of our projects together, but especially this one. Good morning to everyone, or afternoon now. Welcome to our semifinals for Ignite Fire Pitch this year. Today, you'll be hearing from some women-led companies that made it to this stage as they pitch and respond to questions from our expert industry judges. Today's event would not be possible without the great sponsors, so please take a look and learn more about who they are on the sponsors page, or you can find their logos throughout the site. Each one helped to make this event bigger and better than last. We also want to say a special thanks to our partners over at Johnson & Johnson for continuing to support this event throughout the year. And we ourselves at Teams Innovation are always really thrilled to be a part of this great event. Below the video window, you can scroll down to learn more about each of the speakers and judges participating today. Each company will have 7 minutes to pitch, and then there will be 8 minutes of Q&A by the judges. All right, with that, we are ready to get started. Our first presenter is going to be Mara McFadden from Endolymic. Mara, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much to the entire Ignite team. And I'm incredibly excited to tell you how Endolymic plans to advance the standard of care in bariatric medicine. My name is Mara McFadden, and I am a mechanical engineer turned MBA with over 20 years experience in the medical device industry. I work for Johnson & Johnson, Philips Healthcare, and the inventor of this device is Dr. Nova Zoka, the founder of the company, and she's a bariatric surgeon at West Virginia University. Our scientific advisory board is headed up by Dr. Dan Azagiri, the chief of surgery at Stanford University. So bariatric surgery, that's any surgery usually done on the stomach with the intention of improving metabolism or helping people control their weight, is a $2 billion global industry. And it is scaling with the obesity epidemic globally. That's increasing the patient population who is eligible for this procedure. However, it's the intervention many people don't realize that because it's done on such young patients and can have such dramatic impact on quality of life, it's a surgical intervention that has the single greatest impact on morbidity and mortality. Now, it's done minimally invasively, so that means there can be some challenges. The key problem that we're attacking is that surgical teams can't see intragastric tubes. That's the tubes shown here in orange in this diagram during bariatric surgery. The tubes are inserted inside the stomach through the esophagus, and the minimally invasive camera is in the abdominal cavity outside the stomach. This obscured visibility can lead to complications for patients. It can lead to really inconsistent procedure to procedure outcomes, and it can really slow down procedure time, which takes up more time in the OR. The most serious consequence of this outcome is the medical errors that it can cause. In fact, ECRI, an independent nonprofit, noted that injuries and death from misuse of surgical staplers often caused by firing over top of poorly visualized calibration tubes was one of the #1 health technology challenges of 2020. And this has huge impacts on patients' lives, but along with that is extremely expensive for hospitals. In the US alone, US hospitals report over $500 million in expense every year due to suboptimal bariatric tools. That's driven by slower times in the OR time and inability to turn the procedures faster, but largely those medical errors that I referenced. While they're rare, the outcomes can be very, very serious, require additional procedures, and very, very expensive. So the Endolymic system solution is very, very simple. We're using near-infrared light to light the stomach from within for safer and more consistent bariatric surgeries. Now, there's several benefits to this. First, it reduces risk of surgical complications from poor visualization. It can speed up sleep creation time and hospital OR workflow, get you more consistent results and more consistent outcomes procedure to procedure, and also eliminate some tool swaps in the OR. Now, this image, you're going to see the silver device is the surgical stapler. That one's easily visual. But in both of these images, there is a gastric tube inside the stomach. And you can't see what you can't see, but it's where the arrows are pointing. On the left-hand side is the standard of care. And surgeons simply have to guess and feel exactly where that tube is. And a key driver of outcome is how far the offset is from the tube to where they fire the stapler. And you simply can't visualize it well. On the right is the endolumic device. The near infrared light is shining through fluorescent green. You can see perfectly clearly, even from outside the stomach, exactly where that tube is. And you don't have to take my word for the medical importance of this. We just received some key customer validation in that SAGES, the Society of American Gastrointestinal and Endoscopic Surgeons, who would be the key users of this device, recently awarded Endolumic the first place prize in their Shark Tank pitch competition several months ago in Las Vegas. So they're recognizing the clinical impact and importance of this innovation. So I've told you all about it. Let's see it in action. In this video, you're going to see, this is a surgical video. You're going to see the device passing through the esophagus. And even though it's inside the esophagus, you can see again, fluorescent green, crystal clear where the device is located. And then we'll see it inside the stomach. And even though it's inside the stomach with the camera outside, you have perfect visualization of exactly where the device is located. All right, so our intellectual property is secure and licensed from WVU, and it has two key components. First is the use of near infrared light with a camera, and the second is our measuring capability. We have markings on the device that essentially act as a ruler. And we have a key benefit in that we exist within hospitals' current workflow. Every hospital that performs procedure has a surgical tower already, and the majority of them already have cameras with near infrared capability. That's because our device emits the same light wavelength as traditional ICG without the injection. So there's no capital expenditure for hospitals to use this device. They can adopt it right away. We have a very strong competitive position. None of our competitive devices address all of the clinical needs, particularly the visualization that Endolumic is able to solve. Now, our market size is fairly substantial. There are over 1 million procedures performed every single year that could utilize this device. And we believe that fluorescence guidance should eventually be used in every single one of them. We see this as the future standard of care. The same way that every new car manufactured today has a backup camera, this enhanced visibility and visualization is better for patients and safer, and we think it should be adopted across the board. We're targeting an average sales price of approximately $250, which is competitive, and we're planning to capture about 8% market share in 2 years of sales. Now, this looks like aggressive growth, but this is a very realistic pathway to meaningful top-line revenue in the next 5 years in the US, because we have modeled this adoption curve on existing data from a competitive product. So we are not assuming that we are going to grow faster than is already demonstrated can happen in the marketplace. Our FDA pathway is clear. We have no human clinical trials required. It's a Class 2 medical device, so we'll go through with a 510K. And we are making fast traction towards that 510K milestone. We just did a close on our seed financing round, and we plan to do a Series A financing round when we get that 510K approval to finance our commercial launch. We have a big depth of potential strategic partners. Oh, thank you. And I was just wrapping up. I want to thank the Endolumic team. We've been blown away by the support we've gotten so far. So I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Fantastic. And now we will open it up to the judges. Thank you very much, Mara, for that presentation. Who from our judges would like to kick us off?
Hi. This is Susan Quirk. I had a question. I think you hit on a really key point. And I just want to understand a little bit more.
Sure.
What you said was this will fit nicely within the existing workflow. So what you're saying is the ORs currently are, it's easily adaptable. So you have the skills in the physician, you have the staffing, and you also, it would be something that would be easily inserted into the care pathway.
You've got it. Exactly. There's no additional training required for the anesthesiologist or the surgeon. This operates very similar to existing devices on the market, just with that enhanced visibility. It can actually be seen on the scope, unlike the devices today, which cannot. The majority of towers in ORs today, about 80% we've estimated, already have cameras with near infrared capabilities. So no additional capital expenditure, simply purchase the single-use device and they'll be able to use it just like they do today, just safer and more effectively.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mara. Yin, I believe you had a question next.
Great. Hi, Mara. This is Yin with AWS. It's really great to hear that you touched on sort of the regulatory pathway already. My question for you is more on like, what are your thoughts around go-to-market and commercialization strategy in terms of getting your devices into hospitals?
Yeah, I am very grateful that we have a market that's incredibly well suited for a go-to-market strategy, in that there are a lot of high volume bariatric centers of excellence or specialty bariatric surgical centers. So it's very clear points of call with high volume, so we can target those in sales. We don't have to kind of blanket every single hospital in the US. We can get meaningful volume from these low numbers of high volume centers. So our initial launch is to launch domestically, targeting those centers. We do plan to eventually expand into Europe and beyond, but our strategy is to start with those first.
Thanks, Mara.
Hey, Mara, this is Doug Krebs. Just a follow up to that. And maybe you said it, but and I missed it. Are you going to direct sell to those high volume clinics, or is there an established, I'm assuming you're replacing current products that are inferior to what you're building. Is there an established channels that markets these types of devices? Just tell us a little more, one layer deeper as to how you're going to go about doing that.
Yeah, I'd love to. So as you probably well know, this depends a lot on kind of a key KOL network, having key opinion leaders, surgeons who are willing to try and advocate for the device to be adopted. So that's why we're engaging with SAGES. We'll also be at ASMBS, the other relevant conference, developing that KOL network. And we're doing that with our scientific advisory board to have those champions to help us get into those key locations. So we plan to start with direct sales in partnership with key opinion leaders, but we're absolutely looking for strategic partners. This device is used alongside a surgical stapler 99% of the time. So the manufacturers of those might be ideal partners for us. Additionally, the manufacturers of the surgical towers are always looking for new applications to kind of set their tower apart and utilize some of their newer functionality. So that's another place that we've had interesting conversations, is partnering with some of those strategic partners to help us get our foot in the door, because it's absolutely a challenge as one of these little guys to get into those centers.
Right. Thank you.
Deborah, did you still have a question?
I'm sorry. Yes, I do. I didn't really hear the value proposition. I heard and see the value in terms of reduced costs and poor outcomes. But what's the value proposition for the physician? Is this is it the better outcomes, or are there any financial and other mechanisms? Is this a cost that they're able to get reimbursed by? But just tell us a little more about the financial value proposition.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so we're going at about parity pricing with our competitive product. So there's not a cost savings up front. However, I did mention that $500 million annually that are incurred from adverse events, medical errors that occur due to poor visualization of this device. So what we're offering is, for the same price of product that has an existing reimbursement code, they can increase that consistency and safety and reduce some of those medical errors that happen when somebody fires a staple over top of one of these devices. Because as you saw with it showing fluorescent green, it's very, very difficult to lose visualization, and will reduce, we hope, reduce the rate of those medical errors. So when one of those happens, That tends to be several surgeries to repair, to kind of remove the stapler from the stomach and repair those. And you can have very serious consequences, leaks that can lead to sepsis and those sorts of things. So it can be quite expensive every single time you have an adverse event. So it's parity pricing up front, but significantly savings on the quality improvement and faster utilization of the OR as well when we reduce surgical times.
Awesome. And Ken, one last question from you, please.
Could you just talk just real briefly about the manufacturing process, the actual where are you going to source these from, and any potential barriers just in terms of supplying them?
Yeah, I am deep in the manufacturing development process right now, so I could probably talk your ear off about this, but and as a former manufacturing engineer, it's kind of my sweet spot. But we're actually producing these in the USA. We have found a CGMP facility in Ohio that is supporting us for our pilot volumes. As we reach, global volumes, we may look to relocate, but currently we have partners and we've been able to source all of our materials to support our pilot launch and initial clinical qualities domestically.
Initial cost of goods?
Well, we're targeting an ASP between $220 and $250, and at least a 50% sales margin as our floor goal here. So the cost of goods I've challenged myself to achieve is $50, and we'll see if I can get there.
Fantastic. That wraps up our time. So we appreciate the great questions from our judges so far and all of the answers from you, Mara, as well. We're going to take a short 1-minute break so the judges can wrap up their assessments, and then we'll move into our next pitch.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks.
And as we can see from the presentation, we'll be announcing the winners on Monday, October 18th. And we'll be looking forward to hosting those finalists in Houston in early 2021 or 2022. With that, we are ready to welcome our next speaker, who is Tammy Dorsey from Prenatal Hope.
Everyone see my screen okay?
We can't see it yet, Tammy.
Here we go. My apologies.
No worries.
It says, oh my gosh, screen sharing has failed. Try again. Of course. Let me see if this will work. Okay, did that work?
Yes, we can see you now.
Great, so sorry. Well, I'm Tammy Dorsey, founder and CEO of Prenatal Hope. I'm a biomedical engineer and mother of 5, and I'm honored for this opportunity to share with you a problem that I've personally experienced. Oops, my bad. See, despite having state-of-the-art healthcare facilities and treatments, the US remains one of the costliest, most dangerous places in the developed world to give birth. A major contributing factor is poor data and outdated fetal monitors that lead to medically unnecessary C-sections at a rate double what the World Health Organization says is safe. Every year, millions of babies are being born, suffering from complications from birth asphyxia, so they are suffocating in the womb. Outdated external monitors that only capture heart rate don't give doctors the data they need to know when a baby is in distress. Reports show that for every 9 women giving birth, 1/3 will have a C-section. And of those 3, 1 should never have been exposed to such risk. The fear of misdiagnosing one of these babies is driving millions more defensive C-sections that are later determined to be medically unnecessary. The World Health Organization recommends no higher than a 10 to 15% rate for any region, and globally that number is double. It's the silent pandemic, if you will. You see, heart rate doesn't directly correlate to fetal distress. It has to be interpreted. pH, however, is the gold standard for determining how baby is tolerating birth. The industry knows this. The doctors know this. They've just never had the tools to be able to get the metrics. And in 2018, biosensor experts published a review that there is a way to do this better than current methods of interpreting heart rate. And it's exactly Prenatal Hope's approach. We are developing precision monitors that will give doctors the information they need in real time, guiding their decisions, evidence-based decisions. This will save and improve lives, reduce liability for hospital and staff, and create exponential savings for payers. Our monitors come into direct contact with baby while mom is in active labor to capture chemical analysis of pH in seconds. We are non-invasive and accurate. We have a pre-production model of our Gen 1 and an MVP of our Gen 2 that provide intermittent or continuous monitoring. Now, our competitors carry a false positive rate of 89% and only a 52% positive predictive value. It's basically like a coin toss. Well, we are fast and accurate, but we do, however, see licensing opportunities here for easy market entry with minimal additional training needed. So why hasn't this been done before? Well, attempts were made in the 70s and 80s, but technology then just wasn't where it needed to be. Microfabrication techniques weren't able to overcome major commercialization hurdles. Then it just remained as research only. See, their sensors weren't sensitive enough, not fast enough. They were too big, they broke too easily. Historical lack of funding also stalled innovation. Well, we teamed up with the original biosensor engineers from Johnson & Johnson, now operating out of the Netherlands, to develop our state-of-the-art application. And we've had most exciting, validating early results that confirm feasibility, design, and then all the research from the past several decades was spot on. In mice and rats, we've shown sensor specificity and sensitivity that's required for the clinical use. Now we have protocol ready for third-party CROs and ready for our first-in-human studies. And here at Prenatal Hope, we have been most humbled to be recognized for the work we've done on our mission to make birth safer and improve outcomes for mom and babies. And just this past summer, won Harvard's competition and are collaborating with their Clinical and Translational Science Center. And we just got confirmation this morning, a few hours ago, that we've been welcomed into the Dassault Systems 3D Experience Lab sponsorship for the next 2 years as well. We would treasure the opportunity to do further collaborations with you. But what we are most proud of is the buy-in that we've had from our customer discovery process and the providers themselves. You see, of the 200 plus doctors that we've interviewed, they've all called our innovation the game changer that they've been waiting for. And July 27th this summer, we had our first patent granted for this application, most exciting milestone for us. As mentioned, our preclinical studies and benchtop animal studies are done with in-house validation. We have a regulatory strategy developed for the FDA. We received our notice of allowance on our trademark application, and we're continuing to add to our team to be able to complete this mission. Now, our first addressable market is the 4 million babies born in the US each year. But every country that you see in any hue of red or pink is too high on their rates. So should we not be acquired after getting FDA approval, we have strategized a 5-phase plan to go into the rest of the global market with a price point that gives us a healthy 64% profit margin. Now, these outdated external monitors not giving doctors the data that they need is driving up costs and complications. Just a 6-point reduction in C-section rates alone would save $6 billion annually in the US, and those projections are only going up. Now, we've had some direct communications with the FDA Director of OBGYN device reviews and engaged Hogan Lovells, who covered 1/3 of all approved FDA devices the last few years for regulatory analysis. And they identified not just a primary predicate, but a reference device as well. So have reported with high confidences that a 510K Class 2 device with both of our applications will be easily attainable. Now, the versatility of our sensor opens the door for future applications as well. Once our primary mission is complete, we customize the membrane to allow for different indications of use to globally impact other healthcare sectors like athletics, environmental, even agricultural. But we need funding and staffing to make this happen. A $2.5 million generous estimate would get us to our first device of FDA approval. Now, Prenatal Hope, we need investors, mentors, strategic partners such as yourselves to help succeed. We have knowledge gaps, we're aware of, and we know it'll take collaborations to make some epic changes in women's healthcare. So insights from experts and KOLs could help take our innovations to the next level. Now, I've had some incredible advisors that have helped me navigate some intense challenges, but I'm excited to collaborate further as I know I don't know it all. See, my background is in academia, and as a biomedical engineer, I have a master's in innovation design. My focus is on devices, biocompatibility, and tissue engineering. I'm also a mother of a misdiagnosed baby myself who was born blue and needed 4 NICU doctors to save him. So please join us, make epic things happen. Together we can improve women's healthcare and create better outcomes for babies. It is not impossible. I'd love to take your questions.
Perfect timing, Tammy. Let's start with Karen Hill, please.
Hi, Tammy. Thank you for your great presentation. I agree that this is an area that needs further help. But can you go into a little more detail about how you are measuring pH non-invasively? And your pictures described how you put it on the scalp. And for a breech baby, would it work as well on the foot or other extremities? Give me a little more scientific detail if you would.
Sure,
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, and as long as mom is in active labor, that's the key. So membranes are ruptured as well. We come into direct contact with baby. So if that baby's breech, if that baby has a foot presenting, we can get the pH in seconds. Now this is actual blood pH. Our ISFET sensors are state of the art. And because the acid mantle of the skin is not completely developed until a few days after birth, that ion gate allows us to then, as you'll see in the bottom left, capture that metric directly in seconds, non-invasively, without puncturing baby's skin, and accurately within seconds, like plus or minus like 0.02 accuracy. It's incredible.
Thanks, Tammy. Nick, if you would ask the next question, please.
Sure. Yeah, great job. I guess I'm going to keep going on the data side. So your accuracy, how reproducible is it? Have you checked that where you can go in time after time and get accurate results?
Yes, so all of our in-house studies and all of our repetitions have come out with the great same results. We do also have a bunch of our devices in our pilot numbers for our first tests ready to go for third-party CROs for that corroboration. And we've already engaged one CRO here in Chicago to be able to do that.
And do those small animal studies translate to human studies well?
Yes, they do.
Okay, thanks.
Fiona, if you could ask the next one, please.
Thanks, Emily. I was also just curious, you said about 25% of the US are currently using this kind of scalp monitoring. I just wanted to see if there are predictive factors for which you would already potentially be utilizing your device.
Yeah, so it's actually for the protocol that's in use right now. It's the monitoring, and it also depends on your region. So I've noticed the East Coast does not use it as much as the Midwest. So here's our current protocol, right? And what we anticipate doing is being able to intervene at that heart rate contraction monitoring to be an augmentation to that. So we're not trying to replace it. We're trying to elevate the standard of care because the studies show how powerful that is and absolutely objective it is. There's no more guessing then. And so then we can increase that accuracy, which would then naturally drive down the C-section rates. Now, if you look at all the C-sections that are going on right now, and it is a third. So we're talking about roughly over 1 million C-sections per year just in the United States alone. A third of those are medically unnecessary because the doctors get this non-reassuring heart rate and they don't know what to do and they don't have 20 minutes to wait to try to see, is this going to stabilize? So this is where our device could really come in handy. We see this being applicable for all deliveries. Even in our device would be easy enough to use for midwives as well.
Thanks, Tammy. Sammy Nava.
I don't know if you're on.
We'll go to Yin next and then Sammy after.
Hi, Tammy. My question is more around, apologies, this isn't my area of expertise. So can you talk a little bit more about sort of how pH is accepted or has been scientifically validated as a marker for stress. Is that sufficient? Are there any other markers that, you know, that are related to fetal stress?
Yeah, so there's been a ton of studies done since the 70s and even into the 2000s that show that this is the absolute best. So the reason why pH works better than heart rate, or even the failed attempts in the early 2000s for oxygenation, you see oxygenation of blood can vary with physiological parameters. So if a baby is induced or if mother's been medicated, that can affect things. So some babies will die at 50% while others survive at 30%. So the actual metric of the blood buffering the environment of the birthing is the direct indicator for that distress. It's just always been, it's been very cumbersome till now with the technology advancements. What you'll see here to the right, this is what they had to choose. If they absolutely needed to try to get a blood sample or to know this metric, they would have to cut the baby's scalp to get the blood sample, which was high contamination rate, the several long amount of time it takes to do the gas analysis, if the gas analysis lab was even open in their facility or available. So that's why there's so many defensive C-sections being made, because they'll just go to that. But those defensive C-sections have a 5-fold risk for mothers for complications. I mean, what used to be rare, like placenta accreta, the uterus growing outside of scar tissue, has become so common. Things like this that are just absolutely avoidable if they can just get the tools they need.
Excellent. And Sammy, I'll pass it back to you. And Elizabeth McGee, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat and we'll take care of that as well. Thanks.
Hey, Tammy, I kind of just a little follow on the adoption. What obstacles do you anticipate that you're going to have to overcome to get this into surgeons' hands?
So the biggest one is going to be getting KOLs to champion our device, because it kind of has been forgotten about this last decade because no one was able to do anything about a commercializable solution. And so they've gotten so used to just their go-to C-sections. Well, now there's issues like in California, where a law was passed a few years ago that if a hospital's C-section rates aren't below 24%, they are not included in network. And last I checked, that some of the hospitals are still struggling to attain that number. And so the reason those defensive C-sections are so popular is it removes that doctor's liability. Some doctors will even test babies' umbilical cord post-birth to get that pH reading to say, hey, I've documented, at least I made the right decision, or, situations where the liability is removed, the guesswork is removed. So in order to commercialize, we can augment our technology onto existing fetal scalp electrodes. And that's where we see a first licensing opportunity, rather than trying to beat the gorillas in the room, just give them the better tool.
Okay, great. We have time for one last question, either Melissa or Elizabeth McGee.
Yeah, hi, I put my question in the chat, but I was just really interested in your other application areas and if you had done any work to sort of size that market opportunity.
So yes, one of my advisors is from Titletown Tech, and they were really excited about some of the future expansion things we have. Now they've decided to shy away from medical devices just because of the cumbersome FDA process. Any commercializable good has that liberty where they don't need the regulatory approval. But once we can get into some of these other areas, like such as athletics and agriculture, it's just a simple tweaking of the membrane of the sensor that opens the doors for several other applications. So very doable.
Excellent. Again, perfect timing, Tammy. Thank you so much for those responses, and thanks to all of our judges for your great questions.
I would love to take the remaining questions. Just email me. My contact information is there, and I've also posted a picture with my contact information in the Whova app. So hopefully I'll hear from you.
Perfect. Thanks, Tammy. We'll again hold for 1 more minute to enable the judges to answer the questions in the judging form. And we'll be right back. All right, excellent. That wraps up our 1-minute break. It's my pleasure to introduce our next presenter, who is Veena Samareddy from Neuro Rehab VR. It looks great, Veena. You're great to go.
Yeah, my mute button wasn't working. So yeah, thank you for Ignite Healthcare for all the opportunities you've provided till now and the resources, and I'm excited to present today. Hi, I'm Veena, the CEO of Neuro Rehab VR, and here to introduce you to the next generation of rehabilitation. Each year, millions of Americans need physical therapy after suffering a neurological incident. And Joe here is one of them. His stroke left him paralyzed on one side, and he cannot really move his fingers. There is hope for Joe and millions of others. The concept of neuroplasticity suggests that your brain has the ability to recover from a stroke. That is, the healthy parts of your brain can take over the functionality of the damaged areas, but this requires extensive physical therapy and cognitive training. So Joe, he wants to get better, but physical therapy is expensive. Clinics have fallen apart with transportation as a problem, and only 30% of patients actually attend all of their therapy appointments. And on most days, he's too depressed or in pain to go to an appointment. And when he does make it to the clinic, he finds therapy tedious and does not want to do it. And with COVID-19, there has been a bigger impact with clinics shutting down and patients not able to access the care that they need. Moreover, there are only 74 physical therapists per 100,000 Americans, but the number of people turning 65 and older every day is growing faster than the US population. So there is a need for physical therapists as well as physical therapy. And that is why we develop virtual reality applications leveraging the concepts of neuroplasticity. We provide evidence-based, fun, engaging, and motivating therapy exercises. And our company is located inside a neuro clinic. So we have access to physical therapists and patients every day who provide us with constant feedback, and we're able to iterate our applications quickly. So as we started to work with these patients, we realized that each of them had a whole range of functional abilities that varied vastly from somebody with a stroke to a brain injury to Parkinson's to MS. So we had to create a suite of exercises that help upper extremity, lower extremity training, balance, and as well as cognitive skills, along with the data analytics that you would need for progress reports. So now we're able to provide a turnkey solution for a clinic so that they can work with the whole of their patient population. So our device is an FDA-registered medical device. The gamified therapy is highly engaging for patients and provides a new therapy modality for therapists. There is a vast body of research that shows VR is effective for physical therapy, and the therapy sessions are being reimbursed by insurance. We've also built a HIPAA-compliant platform to track patient progress securely. Currently, we sell to hospitals, universities, and senior care centers. Our current customers are large top-tier hospitals in the US, such as Ascension, Tenet, Cedars-Sinai, and the VA. And we follow a subscription-based model with at least a 1-year commitment. The market is large. Just the outpatient physical therapy market is $60 billion and is growing at a 7% rate. We started in the neuro segment and have expanded to pediatrics and geriatrics, and now working with orthopedic patients. So there is an opportunity for vertical market expansion with just the existing library of VR exercises. Moreover, the physical therapy market has been fragmented, but lately large hospitals are buying up smaller practices. So in the case of these two large organizations, there is potential to realize more than 7 million yearly revenue if we expand to all of their locations with just one device. We have accomplished a lot with less. We have completed our FDA approval process. Our system is clinically validated by hundreds of patients, and we also have issued patents and trademarks and won an NSF grant, phase 1 NSF grant, and currently part of the AWS Healthcare Accelerator. Here's the team behind all the work. I have a background in game design and medical simulation and training. Our lead VR engineers have PhDs and are pioneers in the space. And our clinical team has extensive experience in neuro rehab as well as vestibular rehab. We are the only platform with a comprehensive solution for upper and lower extremity training exercises, along with the data analytics. We also have the largest library of educational content and recently released the world's first continuing education course for virtual reality and physical therapy. We are making real world impact in the daily lives of our patients. Just to concentrate on one of the testimonials here, one of our spinal cord injury patients was able to use our system to learn how to bend, reach, select items and put them in the proper place. And he came back one day and told us for the first time he was able to pick items from their pantry and put it back, and also pick items from the refrigerator. So this is what keeps us going. And most of our sales till now have been inbound, with hospitals looking for our solution because now we're able to provide better outcomes, increase therapist efficiency, and reduce costs. And virtual reality is starting to become the standard of care in physical therapy, and we're really excited about that. So we have found product market fit and have 95% renewal rates, and now building our sales and marketing team to reach our revenue goals. And we want to continue working on building functional therapy exercises and assessment, so we're part of that continuum of care for patients and also therapists. So coming back to Joe for a little bit. So Joe is now more engaged and motivated in his therapy. With our data analytics system, he's able to precisely track his progress along with his therapist. We've also seen an increase in range of motion by more than 25%. He's able to hold his balance better and improve his muscle coordination and decrease sway back. And he's having so much fun in VR that his cardio is getting better since he's staying in therapy for longer periods of time. And all of this is leading to more functional independence and a happier life for him. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Veena. Jeff, if you'd like to kick us off with a question.
Sure. Yeah, Veena, thanks for the presentation. My first question is on the content itself. Do you guys, how do you guys create that? Do you do that in-house with your own team, or do you license a portion of it? And does it work with any piece of hardware, or does it only work with specific headsets that you guys have optimized it for?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we build everything in-house, all the software, algorithms, the data analytics. So we are a very tech-heavy team. And me coming from the background of building these applications, I built the first few apps, and then we able to bring in people from part of my virtual reality lab who have the skills and have PhDs. So we continue to build it in-house, which helps us iterate it very quickly and add features that our customers ask for. Sometimes it's a very easy feature for us to add, but makes a huge difference. So we're able to do that because we control everything that we're building in-house. And right now, we have the ability to make it hardware agnostic, but we have chosen not to, just because it's, as a small team, it's easy for us to make sure it works on one device really well and test it out so we can send it out. So we package both the hardware and the software, even though the hardware is just off the shelf, and we control the experience of the patient and therapist.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Veena. Karen, next question, please.
Hi, Veena. Thank you for your presentation. I have a couple of questions. Sure. So I'm assuming that this is a device that has to still be used in the hospital, or were you having plans that this would potentially be something that a patient could do at home to get rid of the transportation issue that is often a problem with physical therapy? So that's question number one. Question number two is, have you done head-to-head studies on outcomes from patients who have used this device versus going through traditional physical therapy sessions?
Yeah. Great questions. Thank you for asking that. So right now we are concentrating on our B2B model. We did do an experiment. We like to try things before we fully jump into it. So we did send the systems home to our patients, because right now it's a fully portable and wireless system. And we had really good results. And I'm going to talk about those outcomes for your next answer. So we sent the system home, we created a therapy plan for them, and it worked really well. But we just didn't want to take on the responsibility of being a therapy provider at this stage of our company, but it's definitely there in our roadmap. So coming back to the outcomes, we have studies where we have integrated virtual reality along with traditional therapy. And in this case, I can give you an example for the person that we worked with. He broke his knee on black ice and had to get knee surgery. So after his surgery, he had a little bit of inpatient rehab, but it was just not enough to get him to full functional level. So he was leaning on one side, on his non-affected side. After using our system for 2 weeks, this is just VR therapy and nothing else, he was able to actually balance himself and start walking inside his home without an assistive device. And after another 2 weeks. So with just 4 weeks, we just saw these really amazing outcomes. So we know it works. And we've also done studies along with just adding VR along with traditional therapy. Also, we've seen really good outcomes.
Excellent. Thanks, Veena. Ken, you're next on my screen here.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about how this is priced? So you're providing the device to a rehab hospital who's been using it, and it's part of the physical therapy. How does it compare to how much it would cost a payer for paying for this compared to traditional PT?
Yeah, definitely. So there are two parts, I think, to the question. One, the way it works for hospitals is a little bit different from how it works with private clinics. So I'll start with our device costs $950 per month. It's a subscription-based model. So it's about $11,400 for 1 year commitment. For hospitals, how reimbursements works for them is they get paid a certain amount. It's between $1,500 to $2,000 for one patient to finish their therapy. And then that's how they don't have to bill for every session. For private clinics, they bill for every 15 minutes. And the reimbursements are between $25 to $65 depending on the insurance that you have. So the model is different. So for us right now, we just want to keep it clean because we work with hospitals. We just receive a flat fee of $950, about $11,400 per year. I hope that answered your question.
Well, not quite. If I could follow up just real quick.
Sure.
So if you're showing this a better clinical outcome than traditional physical therapy, I'm just looking at it from a cost effectiveness standpoint. It's like, okay, how much does it cost the ultimate payer, be it Medicare or a private insurer, more, less, or the same to them?
For them, it is the same. So they can bill for the therapy itself, the physical therapy that they do, but we're not getting an extra amount of money for it, if that's the question you're asking. But this does decrease, help with decrease better outcomes. So, and then help with reducing readmissions, which is a huge cost factor for hospitals. So that way, and also decrease length of stay and therapist efficiency, they're definitely getting a lot of ROI out of the system.
Right. So there's not a separate.
There's no separate CPT code where they get more money.
Or HCPCS code or anything like that.
Not at this point. We're hoping to get there.
Thanks, Ken and Veena. And Elizabeth McGee, next question, please.
Yes, hi, I love your solution. You talked about data analytics, and I'm wondering, do you have on the roadmap some way to intersect with other, activity tracker inputs or even computer vision on how the patient is doing with everyday tasks at home?
That's a great question. So with our data analytics, we have also built a web portal. So therapists can already see both on the tablet as well as on a browser how the patient is doing. So there's that. We also provide analytics on the patient progress from their last session. So we do that. And as we grow and as we get more data, we would love to have predictive analytics so that we can show, depending on the diagnosis of the patient, recommend them the right therapy exercises for them to complete. So that's in our roadmap. We haven't thought about integrating with like a Fitbit or anything else, but that's actually that makes me think right now. So thank you for that. And so that we can provide more data along with the data that we collect from our system. Yeah.
Great.
All right, thanks. And one last question from Nick Pachuta.
Yep, sure. So just real quick, I want to follow up on that clinical and economic improvement, right? If your go-to-market is adding cost to a system without additional reimbursement, I would say if you're raising 1.5 million and it showed that you were using it for sales and marketing and new exercise or app development, I would consider some money to quantify your clinical and economic improvement, so that value proposition is crystal clear. I would also pursue additional reimbursement potential down the road if you could document that. So I would incorporate a health economic set of studies as well as a reimbursement strategy to make this not just an extra cost, but something that everyone benefits from, because you're going to make it tricky without the health economic data.
No, I agree with that. I think the reason right now, hospitals really like a solution as patient engagement has been a huge issue for physical therapists and in hospitals. So one of the reasons they really like it, and that's increasing better compliance. But I agree with you if you have exact data, and that's something that we are doing right now, going back to our hospitals since I've had it for a while to go back and get numbers on the ROI. And I agree with you. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you very much, Veena, and to all of our judges for the great discussion. We will now take a 3-minute break, and I'll pass it back over to Aisha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I can be successful this go around. You all are probably well aware that women get less than 3% of the VC investment dollars. Actually, in 2020 with COVID, it came down to 2.3%. Ignite's work is focused on moving the needle on that number. So we do a number of things that help, like the 32 companies that were identified for this competition, our ability to source companies and select those that you're hearing from today. They've done an outstanding job so far in this session, and there's still 2 left to go. So being able to bring in companies that are prepared to benefit from this ecosystem that we have put together. And this ecosystem is comprised of judges and audience participation and being able to connect these great companies with mentors and continue to help them develop their ideas and access VC funding. We couldn't do this work without our many accelerator partners. So you see all of those that put time into mentoring and working with these companies to get them ready for these sessions. But also, we couldn't do this work without the generous support of our many sponsors. And we're so grateful for that sponsorship. I do want to take a minute to highlight our presenting sponsors who have been with us for many years and provide not only financial assistance, but also support in the way of prizes for our winners. And you'll see this year, particularly at the finals, where we're going to take a moment to really celebrate the support, the many years of support we've had from TMC Innovation. We got started with their assistance and continue to have a great partnership with them. You see Emily involved today. Anna Vu was involved as a moderator yesterday. Megan has been with us for quite some time, making sure that we have the technology and the ability to do this great work. And so we want to bring great companies in front of an ecosystem that then can be connected with continued partners. And TMC has been an incredible support to us in making that happen for the 5 years that Ignite has been around. So for those of you who know the TMC organization, you know the magnitude of the real estate and the institutions that are there. We are fortunate to have the support, many of those institutions, but we're fortunate to have the support of the infrastructure of TMC Innovation because they've truly been the wind beneath our wings. So I'm going to turn it over to a little video that will just tell a brief story and give you a taste of the magnitude of the resource that's at the TMC. And I hope that you will join us on January 20th so that you can actually experience the TMC and our partners and be a part of the grand finale event. It's always a great event. We're glad to be able to do this in person this year. So with that, I'll turn it to Megan. And Megan, if you can tee up the video and give everyone a little look at what's at the TMC.
Texas Medical Center is the largest medical center on planet Earth. In fact, you can take the second largest and the third largest, combine them, they still don't touch the Texas Medical Center. It's staggering. There are 110,000 employees 170,000 operations a year. It's the largest collection of doctors on the planet. The scale here and the quality of excellence here is staggering. More patients come here, more clinical research happens on this campus. It's the highest concentration of awarded scientists in the world, where you can drive from research to clinical care faster than any other place on earth.
What we're trying to do here is take healthcare innovations and research and turn them into products that can help patients.
This is a partnership between the Texas Medical Center, the member institutions, and industry. We want the best of the best here, and they are coming, and they're coming in droves. J&J, the largest life science company in the world, here. Next was AT&T. Now we're working with Apple. We are creating this machinery of innovation that is unstoppable. The momentum is real. It's a place that will change the way in which discovery is done.
The innovation that is occurring here is tremendous. That you cannot replicate.
We have an unfair advantage. We're already together on one campus. This is the beginning of building a life sciences industry in Texas.
And I'll tell you that was, whoops, can you hear me? I'll tell you that that was a few years old, and Emily and Megan both know that there is so, and Sammy Nava as well, all TMC folks who know that there is a lot more to the story and what is happening at TMC now. We look forward to, again, having you all experience it firsthand in January. Emily, thanks. I'll give it back to you to complete the session.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Just want to echo again how great it is to be partnered with you for this event, and appreciative of our partnership over the long 5 years and many more to come. Our next pitch will come from Kathy Skinner from NG Export. Kathy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Gonna make sure you see what I want you to see. Apologize for the delay. It's not working quite right.
Not a problem.
All right, I'm going to try plan B because I always knew there needed to be one. So here we go. All right, appreciate your patience. Can everyone see my screen?
That looks great, Kathy. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Hello, my name is Kathy Skinner. I'm the CEO and co-founder of NextGen Port. NextGen Port fulfills an unmet need in cancer care by developing an implanted smart port with optical sensors that measure cell counts and heart function in the body. Our progress to date is we built our prototype and tested it with procured blood, compared our device results to a gold standard lab test, filed 2 patents, formed a collaboration agreement with Mayo Clinic, launched our seed round of funding and raised $200,000, and we were recently accepted to M-Hub, which is a hard tech accelerator in Chicago. The idea for NextGen Port came from my experience with a cancer patient named Stephanie. For 10 years, I worked as a cancer exercise specialist. Through my work, I helped patients stay physically active during and after treatment. I met with Stephanie twice a week for exercise, and Stephanie had a port implanted in her chest. While the drug was beating the cancer, it was also impacting physical function, specifically her blood counts and her heart function. I was so frustrated that we didn't know this damage was occurring. And I thought, why can't we leverage the port to track changes in her body that could alert her to health and her health team to improve her outcome? Well, Stephanie's not alone. 50% of cancer patients undergoing chemo treatment have low blood cell counts. This puts them at risk for undetected infection and a possible delay in treatment. This one problem, called neutropenia, costs $2.3 billion annually in the US. So if you or someone you know has had cancer treatment, you know that ports are surgically implanted and can be in the body for up to 2 years. Patients could get chemo every 2 to 4 weeks in the clinic. But between visits to the cancer center, the patient's health status is largely unknown. Patients must go into the clinic to get their blood count measured before treatment is administered. And if blood counts are off, treatment may be canceled for that day. These delays have serious implications for patients. Research shows that a 4-week delay in treatment creates a 10% higher risk of death. We have taken a port and added optical sensors to a catheter to make it smart and detect early signs of infection. This allows us to measure blood count daily from home and passively collect data. Then we have software plus AI that delivers data and analytics, providing real-time patient monitoring of trends to triage and alert the medical team, thereby increasing clinical efficiency and improving patient outcomes. We have a collaboration agreement with Mayo Clinic where we work with Dr. Haddad weekly on building a product that physicians and patients can use. So how does NextGen Port work? Our device is threaded through the catheter. It has imaging sensors that capture blood cells as they flow past, much like an E-ZPass captures the license plates of cars as they pass through a toll booth. We've conducted studies with 3 different blood cell types: normal, leukocyte, depleted, and enriched blood cells. Our preliminary data shows that we can differentiate between RBCs and WBCs based on autofluorescence. Our next steps are to build software data set to begin an algorithm development, test additional blood samples, and do intravascular measurements in animals. Every year, 14 million people are diagnosed with cancer. 1.7 million of those get an implanted port. Looking at the market for NGP, we price at $1,000 for the device plus 12 months of software, remote patient monitoring, with approximately 80% margins and capturing 25% of the market. This positions us as a $425 million company. Looking at revenue forecasting, we anticipate $400 million in 5 years for chemo port and software sales. And I qualify the chemo port market because we see revenue streams beyond cancer. We envision additional market opportunities to implant our sensors and other catheters to remotely monitor patients and gather data for other medical conditions. So we're starting with the chemo port market because it's our area of expertise. Then we'll expand into the intravascular device market for other conditions. But along with the chemo port market, we're looking at digital health because our data from the device will flow to the cloud for monitoring and diagnostics. And finally, the personalized medicine market, where longitudinal data of many patients will provide predictive analytics to improve outcomes. So as we speak to investors, we're often asked, why haven't other port manufacturers done this? Well, port manufacturers see the port as a delivery device. Chemo in, blood out. We have reimagined the port as a data collection and testing device. We're competing against wearables and lab tests, which both have levels of inconvenience and limitations. One other competitor in the market is looking at simple measures like oxygen and body temperature. We capture those measures as well, but our novel features are measuring blood cell counts and heart function in the body. We're working diligently on these 3 areas. To date, we have filed 2 patents with plans for 3 to 5 more. We have deep regulatory experience on our team, and they've assessed the device to be a traditional 510K or possibly a de novo. The software will also be a 510K. Our next steps are to consult with the FDA for feedback. From our research, we believe that limited clinical data will be required. We have confirmed there are CPT codes for the port and for the remote patient monitoring, and we had this validated by 2 reimbursement experts. These milestones illustrate our progress in our funding pathway. I want to highlight our relationship with Mayo, SBIR grant that we filed recently, and our acceptance to mHub Accelerator. Currently, we're in a seed round of funding where we have raised $200,000. This round of funding, when this round of funding is complete, it will enable us to do device testing in small animals, file more patents, and start building software algorithms for data analytics. This prepares us for a Series A round of funding in 2022 for large animal studies, and a Series B round of funding will facilitate a human clinical trial prior to our commercial launch. I am a serial entrepreneur as well as a cancer exercise specialist. I've launched 3 healthcare companies focused on cancer. Roseanne Welcher, our Chief Science Officer, has 25 years of corporate experience in cancer, including many years in companion diagnostics at Agilent. Our engineer, Mohammed, has 15 years as a researcher in cardiac devices. We have a deep team of advisors with rich experience. Dr. Tafaya Haddad helps us with patient and physician experience, as well as workflow and adoption of new products. Rich comes from decades of experience in medical device and business growth. Nancy is an expert in regulatory, quality, and software. Jennifer is currently at Medtronic and provides insights on commercialization and strategy. And David brings finance along, and Vincent is a patient advocate as well as a cancer survivor and an expert in software engineering. I'll go ahead and pause
wrap it
here.
up, Kathy. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
but
I'm good. That's
fantastic.
I'm in. So happy to take questions.
All right. It looks like we have a question from Nick Pachuta. Please go ahead.
Yep. Hey there. Great job. Yeah, just a couple things. What is the actual stage of development right now? And what sort of data do you have? I call it reason to believe data, that you're going to be more accurate or give better information than, what is achieved through standard, diagnostics?
Sure. So our early results are showing a 95% CI, and but we are on the bench. We've done 1 test in animals, but we're looking to do more. And that's what the SBIR grant funding that we'll learn about mid-November will allow us to do in 2022, is we need to put the device in a native vein because we're getting good results from the simulator, even with real blood, but we need to put it in a living being.
And does the device stay in, or do you put it in for testing and take it out? And the reason I bring that up is there a chance that the sensor would foul over time?
Right, that's a great question. So we're leaning on precedent in cardiac devices and implantable glucose monitors for things that can be in the body for an extended period. And the port catheter itself can be in the body for up to 2 years. And we're thinking about the battery life as well as the sensor life, being able to do that whole duration. And what we're tapping into is data that does not exist anywhere in healthcare to understand what's happening in the life of a cancer patient.
Okay, thanks.
And while we wait for other questions, Kathy, what's your focus for the next 6 months? Product development, clinical development? Tell us what you're laser focused on for the next few months.
Well, the next few months, because we were recently accepted to mHub, we get to focus on hard tech. And so that's going to be the complement of the hardware device that'll be implanted, as well as the data and the software and the information that's coming out. We're also looking to work with students from the University of California at Irvine on their capstone engineering projects. And so on the business side, we're raising money. And on the technology side, we're working on the hardware and the software, moving toward putting the device in a native vein.
Fantastic. Yin, next question.
Kathy, I'm curious on your thoughts about the data. You know, once you have, right, you've collected all this data, how do you anticipate, you know, either patients or providers to be able to use it? And does it require or hinge on integration with other existing data for the patient already, like with some EHR system?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the reason we're spending so much time, literally once a week with Dr. Haddad at Mayo Clinic, is to answer some of those very important questions, because we don't want to build anything that doctors don't want to use and patients don't find valuable. So we're taking the approach to data, and Dr. Haddad says, you know, doctors are humans too. So it has to be in the EHR, and it has to be a certain level of analytics, so that physicians have data that they can make actionable decisions upon. And part of it is a triage on the front end. Dr. Haddad talks about getting a call from a patient, and she asks the same 12 questions. And so can we triage those 12 questions and then help patients understand and physicians know what decisions they need to make from there? So meaningful use data for the physicians. The other thing that we have, and I'm so glad you asked this question because it's tucked in my appendix of slides, is what could be of value to a patient. And these are images from the patents that we filed. And there's so much interesting information. I've had the privilege of working with 400 cancer patients face to face. And some patients, they want to know everything. Some patients don't want to know anything. And so our vision is that if a cancer patient has data that's within scope of meaningful use, that would help empower them to own their own recovery and to make their own decisions and make them more informed consumers of healthcare. So we have to be very thoughtful and logical and strategic about what goes into the hand of a patient, what goes into the hand of a physician, so that they're making wise decisions. Have I captured all your questions?
Yeah, that's great. I guess my one follow-up be, you know, initially you're capturing sort of cell count data, right? I'm curious, you know, if there's other data, right, surfaced by physicians where they're like, hey, this is something we, you know, would be really great to have in real time, and how could that be integrated?
Yep, thank you for following up. So yes, we anticipate capturing data around body temperature, oxygen, blood cell counts, specifically white blood cell counts and the 5 differentials, because that will really point to precursors of infection. Our chief science officer is listening, and she wants me to say circulating tumor cells would be a big ambition, a stretch for the future. And so the data points that would be meaningful for physicians is they just don't know what's happening inside of a patient, whether it's their heart is not functioning as well, their blood counts are off. And does that mean a patient has to drive 4 hours into clinic, get their blood tested, and then get sent home because they're not getting treated that day? So we can increase efficiencies because the patient doesn't have to drive in, and yet the hospital can reschedule the chair. Another person can get treatment. The nurse can see someone else. The doctor can see someone else. So the efficiencies of the healthcare system all of a sudden go up. And the reimbursement model for them is they can make money on the remote patient monitoring as an additional benefit to not only having smart data, but then they can get reimbursed for remote care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy and Yin. And Susan, next question, please. Sorry, Susan, you're still on mute. If you could.
Oh, apologize. Thank you. Kathy, I think it's very impressive that you have approached the physician to make sure that, one, you're reporting the right data that makes sense to them, but also that this is user-friendly for them and fits nicely into their workflow. And I was wondering how you gathered that data. Did you have a focus group? Was it told to you? Or how did you come to that conclusion?
Thanks for asking that question, and shout out to Wavemaker. We're big fans. So part of it was the privilege I had to working face-to-face with 400 cancer patients. And the reason I even got involved in the cancer space was my own father was diagnosed with cancer, and sadly he died many years ago. And by spending time week after week with cancer patients through physical activity and classes and support groups, they tell me their stories about what works and what doesn't work. And their physicians, I get to talk at their support groups, I get to talk at their cancer conferences, and physicians tell us what they need and what the gaps in care are. And so I've had the privilege of being in that space, hearing those stories for a dozen years, and that's what's fed the vision. I mean, I'm not an MD, but it was my idea to implant sensors in a port because that's what patients needed, and how could we not help them, and how could we not know what's going on in their bodies? And even though I thought about this 5 years ago, it wasn't until this year that the technology actually existed. So the timing is actually right for remote patient monitoring, for improving cancer care, and for empowering patients to be their own guide in their own journey.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Susan and Kathy. We'll now take a 1-minute break in between pitches. We're grateful for the presentation and discussion, Kathy and team.
Thank you.
All right, so as our judges are finishing up their feedback for our participants, as Aisha mentioned, we do have our date selected for the final pitch day live in person here at Teams Innovation on January 20th. And we'll be looking forward to meeting all of the judges and participants ahead of time on the 19th over down the street at the Ion. So very much looking forward to get everyone back together in Houston to celebrate the work of these finalists and to award the final participants on January 20th. All right, with that, I will now welcome Tatiana Conzavelli from Open Health Network for our final pitch.
Hi, let me see if I can get, first of all, glad to be here, and it's just such an honor. I'm thrilled by, all the presentations that you guys, fellow presenters did. So let me see if I can get to my presentation. Okay, can you see my deck?
We can see your deck if you want to present
Yeah,
it.
I'll go into present mode. Yeah, okay. Okay.
It looks great.
Excellent. So complex disease management is complicated. You probably all faced issues related to care for your family members or friends with cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and so on. I faced it when I was diagnosed with cancer, with colon cancer, and that's when I started this company. Many of people who have chronic diseases, they have more than one health issue. They do need to have personalized treatment plans. We know that one size fits all doesn't work in healthcare. We also know that people who have chronic diseases, they have very low adherence rates to care plan. And that results in poorer outcomes and of course, huge costs of care. And we're talking about 40% of Americans that have chronic illnesses, and more than half of them have multiple issues. Being it took us, time to build highly comprehensive, one-stop, completely integrated, adaptable, personalized, continuous care framework. It is powered by sophisticated artificial intelligence algorithms. It's HIPAA compliant, it's modular, easy scalable, and fast to deploy. We've seen tremendous results after being deployed at large healthcare organizations that included metrics of increased adherence, increased patient satisfaction, reduction in readmission rates, reduction in physician burnout, and at the end of the day, it helps to improve patient outcomes and reduce cost of care. We've been fortunate enough to fully deployed by over 13 major healthcare organizations. And we deployed in a variety of healthcare diseases from cardiovascular to cancer, autism, Alzheimer's, sleep disorders, and other ones. Within healthcare organizations that we're working with, like at UCSF, we're doing 5 different engagements. And the same is happening at every single one of them. So let me explain how the system works. So we have 2 parts to it. One is physician and care team management module, where you can create dynamically care team that can consist of a variety of different specialists, primary care physicians, even social workers members. They can create personalized care plan and all inclusive. I'll tell you later what does that mean. So everything is white labeled. We're fully integratable with any systems, devices, hospital apps, EMRs, and wearable sensors and so on. It's completely configurable, customizable, and can be deployed as fast as in 2-3 weeks. So how does it work on the patient side? Patients can see completely integrated care plan, so they don't have to open 10,000 apps and figure out what they need to do. So everything that they need to do, whether it's activities at prescription exercise level, medication surveys, any type of health indicators, educational content, behavioral health, everything is addressed in one place. It's personalized and adaptive. It's integrated real time with a dashboard that you can be immediately accessed to by the care team. We integrate with a variety of wearable devices and clinical, consumer grade, and sensors. All the data can be shared at the data element level. It's available in any language. I have a whole deck on AI. This is our level of expertise, and our vision is to take 360 degrees of patient data and use it for treatment, predictive analytics, and improve outcomes for patients with chronic diseases. So this is just an example of how we can deploy and have been deploying AI algorithms throughout our implementations. Our revenue is pretty straightforward. We have initial deployment fee and SaaS model on per patient per month basis. And we've been, I think I've mentioned, we have been profitable in our revenue doubling, tripling every year. Our round that we are opening soon is 3 million that will enable us to get to 49 million revenue within 3 years. Our team, it's myself, serial entrepreneur. I've been leading Global Company Center at Pricewaterhouse, intersection of technology and business processes. I worked with C-level executives of Fortune 50 for many years. Also mentored Richard Branson Entrepreneurial Center at 500 Startups. My co-founder, Dr. Tsvetavat, is well-known expert in AI and technology. We have distinguished advisory board, lucky to work with people like Dr. Zuckerman, Dr. Khan, Patzak, Adam Bosworth, with one of the first advisors, and Dr. Garen Barnett from Boston Medical. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And we are on our way to get to enough data to create a digital twin that will open unheard of opportunities in healthcare.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tatiana. We'll now open it up to questions from the judges. Sammy Nava, if you can lead us off.
Sure. Hi, Tatiana. Great pitch. I had a question. So there are quite a few companies that are trying to tackle chronic care management. What would you say is the biggest differentiator you have against your competitors?
So our approach is to integrate all kinds of data. And I'm talking about data from, as I mentioned, sensors, devices, genomics, patient-reported data, MR data, and claims data. And we have access, and we have been using all that data to enable personalized adaptive care. So it's not, one size fits all, and it's not set of stone pathway, if you will. So I'll stop share so I can see you guys. And the way we integrate behavioral into complex care management, I think it's pretty advanced. So you will hear about some motivational interviewing stuff that we deployed with UCSF and MBA, where it integrates and takes the whole adherence level to the next stage, because adherence to treatment, especially in complex disease management, is tricky. It's not like you just remind people, take your med, or do 5,000 steps and people adhere. There are a lot of behavioral aspects that have to change. So we developed highly comprehensive behavioral, integrated behavioral things that, again, have an input into overall treatment plan and adaptivity of interventions based on all the aspects of patient.
Thanks, Tatiana. Fiona, next question.
Thanks, Emily. I may have missed this, Tatiana. I think when you initially incited the establishment of the care teams, you mentioned it would take 2 to 3 weeks. I'm curious if that has been a challenge in terms of getting uptake, and if there's ways to streamline that effect. I'm also just curious from a doctor experience in terms of putting in this information, if there's any impediments to adapting this to another platform.
Oh, excellent question. So 2 to 3 weeks time frame. It's actually from 0 to deployment. So you can go, the way we build our backend content management system, it's highly comprehensive. Trust me, I've been doing like complex system development for a long time. So you can go with any knowledge of any technology as a healthcare expert. You can build your team, you can assign roles, you can assign security and everything else, along with dragging and dropping every single item within the care plan and creating triage logic. You can do all of that without us being involved. So if you have existing content, you can just drop it on, along with creation of rules and everything else, and all of that. We have cases we can deploy things with you within hours, and it could be highly comprehensive, highly adaptive, and pathway that you need to build. In our system, you can do it like in hours.
Thanks, Tatiana. Melissa, I apologize for skipping over you last time. Would love to hear you.
Okay.
This time.
All good. Hi, Tatiana. Can you talk a little bit about some of the early implementations and what kind of data they're actually using? I mean, you're talking about a whole lot of different types of data. Can you just give us a little bit more examples of that? And then also, how customizable is it? So for like the patient versus perhaps family members versus care coordinators, like how do you customize the applications for those different uses?
Thank you. Excellent question. So I can give you examples. If you look, we did a press release yesterday on some of the stuff we've done in cardiology. So it's CardioSphere, PatientSphere 2.0 for cardiology with one of our large clients. And they had an issue in pediatric cardiology with kids who have to adhere prescription level exercise. And in the past, they, had to drive to hospital and get into this extensive, treatment program with COVID and everything else in order to be able to serve population who just can't come to the hospital for a variety of reasons. We integrated with Fitbit, where we wrote custom thing, and they set up comprehensive exercise, for example, program where it says, here you need to get on a bike. It shows you how to get from a wheelchair in one of the example to the bike. It sets up, you can set up target heart rate, right? They can see if they're able to reach that heart rate, how long they need to stay in that heart rate. Now, and whether they did and they did not, we get heartbeat rate data at the beat level displayed on a dashboard, but we also build all kind of triage and escalation logic, whether it's AI or rule-based, that notifies team if it has to do that. We also collect data for some sleep studies. We have 5 different devices, along with, of course, assessments and patient-reported data. We also can gather passive data, what you used to do, but you're not doing now. We also build algorithms on 200 million claims data. We do a lot of stuff with government. So, and once you start integrating all of that, you can build real good predictive modeling on what type of interventions will work for what type of people. And we go to the next level. We also look at socioeconomics and environmental things. So we integrate data from, for example, noise level, humidity, and quality of the air. And you can see how certain type of treatments will work for certain population types who are exposed to certain things within the environment. So it's super fascinating.
We only have time for one more question, unfortunately. So Nick, can you wrap us out?
Yeah, how much have you raised to date?
We raised about 300K. We've been profitable for a while, so.
So I guess on $300,000, you've been able to develop the technology, commercialize, and generate the data that you said around adherence and patient satisfaction and readmission. You did all that on $300,000?
Yes. Yep.
Could you run courses on how other people can do all that on $300,000?
Well, you know what? I mean, we're very lean, and I built a number of startups, and I really didn't want to spend a lot of time, raising money. I just wanted to use Agile in our own product development, where we build enough to make money and then invest that money in building products and so on. So.
Got it. Thank you.
Good question, though.
Thank you to you, Tatiana, for that session, and to all of our judges for participating today. As we end out the session today and wrap up with that feedback, I will pass it back to Aisha for one last parting message.
Emily, thank you. Fantastic job moderating. Always great to have you with us. To the presenters, thank you for 5 great pitches. I think you all did a fantastic job. And to all the judges, Great questions, great interactions. I think everyone learns from these types of smart questions that you all bring to the startups and to these types of events. So thank you for a great session to all of you. A few things to remember. One is judges, please complete your scoring tools and would love to get your responses in. Secondly, look for the announcement Monday for the winners from all of these sessions. They'll be revealed on Monday the 18th. We'll push it out on Whova. We'll push it out on LinkedIn. We're going to try to get creative in terms of how we celebrate the companies that have been selected to come to finals in Texas. Another point is look at this Whova platform that we are using for this program. It has been remarkable. Last year we tried to make this up on our own, and this particular platform allows people to engage in really great ways. We're seeing people schedule one-on-ones with each other. There's a happy hour floating out there. There's just a lot of ways that people are finding each other. So we have that platform available through November 4th. So we're going to use it, and you may see us reaching out to you through November 4th through the Whova platform, and I hope you find it valuable. So the People's Choice Award is my last reminder. Votes are completed end of day on Friday. So please cast your vote. And with that, I think this is a wrap. We are 4 sessions into 6. It's been a great 2 days. Looking forward to Friday. Thank you, everybody, and have a great afternoon.